Johnson, do you promise to love Sophia and remain faithful to her for the rest of your life?
Yes, I do.
Sophia, do you promise to love Johnson and remain faithful to him for the rest of your life?
Yes, I do.
I just saw your wife picture on a dating app with status single and her name. Check WhatsApp for screenshot.
Is this a dream or what?
Lovey, you shouldn't believe this. It's all AI.
So when did artificial intelligence start creating dating profiles in its free time?
For too many people today, cheating on one's spouse is no longer seen as a big deal. Hollywood normalizes it. No! Don't tell them. Social media jokes about it. Movies turn it into entertainment. Gradually, people begin to believe that betrayal is simply another part of modern relationships. But cheating of any kind, to any degree, is immoral. At the same time, discovering your spouse on a dating site does not automatically mean your marriage has to end. Instead, it should serve as a catalyst, a wake-up call that something inside the relationship has not been working. But before we laugh too hard, let's talk about something more important. Discover something like this. The first question that usually enters your mind is, why did she do this to me? Ironically, that is the wrong question. She did not do it simply to hurt you. Thinking she did only adds another unnecessary layer of complexity to an already painful situation. More often than not, she did it because she felt she wasn't getting what she needed out of the marriage and believed she might find it somewhere else. Now, that does not justify cheating. Don't misunderstand me. Understanding a reason is not the same thing as excusing a decision. Marriage is one of the deepest and holiest relationships two human beings can experience. It is a union between two souls. Perhaps that's why we use the word soulmate. Couples living in a healthy, harmonious marriage rarely wake up looking for someone else. Not because someone constantly reminds them not to cheat, but because when your heart is truly full, stealing bread from another table never even crosses your mind. Or, to put it another way, if you've just eaten a 5-course meal, you're probably not standing outside a bakery licking the window. Healthy marriages naturally reduce the desire to look elsewhere because emotional needs are already being met. Instead of asking, why did she do this to hurt me? A more useful question would be, what can I learn about the state of my marriage from this? Sometimes the dating profile isn't the disease, it's the symptom. The marriage has been quietly asking for help long before anyone downloaded an app. And if we refuse to understand that, we'll spend our energy fighting symptoms while ignoring the real illness. What doesn't work? Finding your spouse on a dating site is painful, but what you do in the next few hours can either save what's left of the marriage or destroy it completely. Most people immediately go into detective mode. They collect screenshots, they rehearse speeches in the mirror, they suddenly become lawyers, judges, prosecutors, and FBI agents, all in one afternoon. Unfortunately, that's exactly where many people make their biggest mistakes. Don't confront your wife in the heat of your emotions. When emotions are running high, people don't think clearly. They defend, they deny, they attack, they justify, and sometimes they simply lie. That doesn't mean you ignore what happened. It means you wait until you're emotionally stable enough to have a meaningful conversation instead of an emotional explosion. Remember, the goal isn't to win an argument. The goal is to discover the truth, because shouting has never magically turned a lie into honesty. Don't beg. This is one of the hardest things to avoid. When people feel they're about to lose someone they love, they panic. They promise to change overnight. They send 10 paragraphs. They call 37 times. They start negotiating with someone who's already emotionally walking away. Ironically, the more desperate you become, the weaker your position becomes. Love isn't sustained through begging. It's sustained through mutual commitment. Don't vent to everybody. Pain makes us want validation, so we call friends, family, neighbors. Sometimes even the barber ends up hearing the entire relationship story. Before long, everyone knows your marriage except the two people who are actually living in it. Be careful. Advice is cheap. Everybody suddenly becomes a relationship expert when it's someone else's marriage. One friend says, leave immediately. Another says, forgive everything. My uncle's cousin went through the same thing. Now you're confused. Not because your marriage became more complicated, but because you've collected 12 different opinions from people who aren't married to your spouse. There's a difference between seeking wise counsel
and conducting a public opinion poll about your marriage. So, why do people end up on dating sites? This is the uncomfortable conversation most people avoid because it's easier to blame one person and to understand what slowly damaged the relationship. Again, cheating is wrong. Using dating sites while married is wrong. Nothing we're discussing excuses betrayal. We're simply trying to understand the psychology behind it. People often assume relationships collapse because of one massive event. Sometimes, they simply die from neglect. The conversations become predictable. The laughter disappears. Date nights stop. Affection slowly fades. Life becomes nothing but work, bills, sleep, repeat. Eventually, someone begins chasing the excitement they no longer feel at home. Not because excitement is more valuable than commitment, but because humans naturally crave novelty. It's like eating your favorite meal every single day. Eventually, even your favorite food begins to feel ordinary. Marriage isn't supposed to become boring. It takes intentional effort from both people to keep the emotional connection alive. Some people aren't looking for another partner, they're looking for another feeling. Home has become stressful. Arguments happen every week. Criticism becomes the language of the relationship. Nothing they do seems good enough. Eventually, their phone becomes more peaceful than their own living room, and that's dangerous because emotional distance almost always comes before physical distance. The dating site simply becomes the escape hatch, not the starting point. This one surprises a lot of people. Some people don't cheat because they're searching for love. They cheat because they're trying to punish someone. They feel ignored, are rejected, unappreciated. So instead of solving the problem, they choose revenge. But revenge has never repaired a relationship. It only creates two wounded people instead of one. This is perhaps the saddest stage. Emotionally, they've already left. The dating profile isn't the beginning, it's simply the announcement. By the time someone is actively searching for another relationship, their heart may have checked out long before their body did. That's why focusing only on the dating app misses the bigger picture. The app wasn't the disease, it was the symptom. What should you do now? So, if you're in Johnson's shoes, what should you actually do? Not tomorrow, not next month, today. The first step has nothing to do with your spouse. It has everything to do with you. Control your mind. The greatest battle after betrayal isn't against another person. It's against your own thoughts. Your mind will replay the screenshots. It will replay the lies. It will replay every conversation you've ever had over and over and over again. If you don't learn to control your mind will control you. Reacting emotionally feels natural. Responding wisely requires discipline. Pain is unavoidable. Suffering often comes from the stories we continue telling ourselves. Build heart-based intimacy. Many people think intimacy begins in the bedroom. It doesn't. It begins in everyday conversations, in kindness, in respect, in feeling understood. Sometimes your spouse doesn't need another expensive gift. Sometimes they simply need your attention, to be heard, to feel appreciated, to know they're still important. Marriage isn't sustained by grand romantic moments alone. It's sustained by thousands of small moments that quietly say, I'm still choosing you. Remember this, strong relationships aren't built by people who never face problems. They're built by people who recognize problems before they become disasters. The dating profile wasn't the beginning of Johnson's story. It was the ending of a chapter and the beginning of a lesson. The real question isn't, did this happen to me? The real question is, am I paying attention to my relationship before it's too late? Because by the time betrayal becomes visible, the warning signs have often been whispering for a very long time. If this story made you think differently about relationships, subscribe to Beyond the Mind.